Sales are easy. It's making the call that's hard. Hi, my name is Dave Gallegos. I've spent the last 25 years in the mortgage industry and a lifetime in sales. In this show, I'll bring that experience, expertise, and the experts I've met to you with actionable advice to improve your sales. It's not magic. You just make the call. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Make the Call. I'm Dave Gallegos with Zenith Home Loans, and today I have a great guest this is actually a really cool story about how we met, but he knows one of my longest tenured loan officers that work here, and so I didn't know that at the time when I reached out to him, but this is Dan
Umdenstock.
Umdenstock. It's a little bit, it's like Gallegos and you don't know what to say exactly. So, well, welcome. Thanks a lot for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, right awesome. On. Well, so let's just get started. We're going to talk a little bit about, we'll get into the mortgage stuff here in a second, but tell the people who are going to be listening to this, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, where you grew up, that kind of thing, your family?
Yeah, so I grew up in Chicago area, born and raised there, went to school, University of Illinois. So I'm a Bears fan, Illinois fan. I've had a lot of pain in my life.
You have had a lot of pain. Almost all the Bear fans I know are like, dude, I don't want to talk about it.
But it's all good. You support.
Were you excited because you were probably, were you living here when the Broncos got Cutler?
Yeah. Well, I moved here in 2001. I can't remember when Cutler came.
I can't remember what year it was, but I just remember all my friends in Chicago were like, yeah, we got Cutler. I'm like, no, you're going to hate this guy.
Yeah.
And they
hated him. But we've had a long string of Broncos going to the Bears who no longer were performing. Yeah. It's been a revolving door.
Yeah. It's still a Bears town though, isn't it?
We're diehard. Yeah, right. What are you going to do? Support your team? I mean, yeah.
Right on. So, University of Illinois.
Yep. And then I had a opportunity to travel a bit after college. I got a work visa out in Australia, so I traveled around, backpacked, and worked odd jobs. I did that for a full year, so it was a great experience. I love travel. I think that's one of the best learning.
That's really cool
experiences you can have.
What a great experience! How old were you?
I was right out of college, so 22.
22, 23, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a great time to do it. And I was originally going for 6 months but I had a year visa and I'm like, well, I canceled my return flight about 2 months into it. I'm like, well, I'm not going back early.
Why go back early?
And then I realized, in traveling, there's a lot of places you can live and not everywhere is bad in the wintertime, gloomy or whatever. And so I decided, maybe I'll try other place. I moved to Arizona for a little bit. Wasn't my scene. But I met an organization that promoted Tom Hopkins there, sales trainer. And so I became a national speaker for him for about 4 years and traveled all over the country. I'd be in a city for 2 months at a time.
Wow.
So I got to see and live in a lot of places around the country, which is great. It was great, kind of test like would I like to live here or would I like to live there?
Right.
And you get a good feel for a place in that amount of time. And I was in the Northeast, the Southeast, the Northwest, just all the parts of the country.
This climate's hard to beat, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and to that point, when I left that business, I moved here by choice. I didn't have connections here. I didn't know people here. I just said, of all the things, Denver kind of checks all the boxes or most of them.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't have an ocean.
And that's the only thing, right? Yeah. Other than that, everybody who's here says the same things. Like this climate is unbelievable. And it's because it's just no humidity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
What a difference in the winter. It's
a saving.
Well, I told you this when we talked on the phone. I was like, man, the first time I was in Chicago in the winter, I was like, I walked outside this hotel. I didn't bring a coat because I don't think I need a coat in the winter because I live here. And I walked out of the hotel. I was like, God, what's going on? Like, why is it like this? I had to walk across, I don't know what I was thinking. I had to walk across a pretty big parking lot to the office building for the company was Majestic Mortgage. And they
I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I walked into their office. I was like, what's going on out there? And like, what are you talking about? Like, they're like, where's your coat? And I was like, I didn't bring a coat. It's like, why didn't you bring a coat? It's like, I don't know. What is going on? I still didn't get it. And then I'm like, and you stay?
Right.
Like, you don't move?
By choice.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because, man, that's crazy cold.
Yep. It is. It's extreme, and because the summers are really hot too. The humidity kind of amplifies whatever temperature you're at. So so living here has been a great change from that.
Yeah, I just didn't equate the Midwest with humidity, just because I never lived there. So how old were you when you got here?
So
how long did you do the Tom Hopkins thing?
So I did that for 4 years. So I was just over 30, I think, when I moved here, right at 30.
What a great freaking background for the mortgage business.
Yeah, it was. I mean, honestly, not only for mortgage, just for life.
Well, because not everybody probably some of our listeners are probably
True.
younger. They probably
Yes.
don't know who Tommy Hopkins is. Because when I say Tommy Hopkins, because I heard that's what Tom Ward used to call him. Tom Ward knew him, the guy that ran Majestic Mortgage. And because he had Century 21 offices before he started a mortgage company. He was a huge fan. And then when you started to listen to his stuff, it was like, this guy's great. He's fun to listen to, really engaging. So talk about that.
Yeah. Starting it, I was in my late 20s. I'd been in sales, but not, real high level. And the job was to go into a city ahead of him coming to for a seminar. And you would work with mortgage companies, real estate companies, car dealerships, insurance companies, all walks of sales.
So your job was to go into the city and find folks that
we'd prospect, and we had inside sales teams setting up some meetings. And our goal was we go into a sales meeting, we're free. We give some good tips on, hey, here's some ways to overcome objections, close more business, get referrals, whatever Tommy's trainings, his scripts. And then at the end of that, saying, hey, Tom's going to be here, in 2 months. The tickets are X, get out of it what you put into it, right? If you learn more, you earn more. It's a great networking event because it's an all city event. Yeah.
Duh.
Right. And it's funny how hard it is to get salespeople to invest themselves. Selling to salespeople, as any salespeople will tell you, is probably the best audience, right? Because they'll generally want to buy whatever it is you're selling if you're at all decent and doing those techniques, and using his scripts. It's like they can't fight you that you're selling them something of value, and you're giving them a good deal, and they're going to get worth it. It's $200-$300 or whatever it was for a ticket, and they're making mortgages maybe $3,000-$5,000 back then per transaction. So it's like, well, you get one out of it. Yeah,
I know that's how it.
What are you thinking?
It's like less than one deal.
Yeah, exactly. But what was interesting is being in front of that level of salespeople. I mean, these were people in their 50s. I was in my 20s, right? And they've been in sales their whole career. I was kind of starting out, and I'm teaching them. And what's great is I had a lot of aha moments in there where people are like, I never thought of that, or that's a great way to do it. And being a young man, I mean, a huge ego boost, right? Because you're in front of a group of people, sometimes hundreds of people, and you're able to convey something that is making a difference to them right then and there, and then give them the opportunity to expand on that.
Tell me about. Let's talk. This is really pretty fascinating. That I didn't realize that's what the job was that you had. So at a pretty young age, you're presenting in front of a group of sales professionals, depending on what you think of that term, but sales professionals. You must have had some pretty intense training to begin with, right?
Yeah. Well, to teach it, you have to be a student, right? So I had to know I had to read all the books. I had to listen to all the programs. Back then, it was cassette tapes. We had them in our cars, right?
Cassette tape is.
Right. And not only of Tom, but we had competitors out there promoting Tony Robbins or promoting Brian Tracy or promoting Jim Rohn or all these other guys. So we would,
and they're all
you'd have
good.
to be, well, they're all great.
Yeah. No,
and so you had to be a student of everybody. Which, as a young person starting out their career, I couldn't have asked for a better, mentoring than getting all this good information of how you should think, what you should say, how you should act, what what not to do, from all the top pros in their field, and so it was a great experience for me, not only going into mortgages, but any sales, but just in life in general. Of growing up Midwest, there's overcast weather. And it affects, I think, the mood too. There's a lot more negativity, in my opinion, in that area.
Like I've lived here my whole life. So when I'm in a cloudy place for too long, it's depressing. It's just depressing. Like it changes your mood. So
you want to hibernate, right?
Yeah.
Growing up, I'd never quite bought into that. I always thought, well, why couldn't life be good? Why is the other shoe always have to drop? So it was great to kind of break out of that and really, come into some identity of who I am, what I want to do.
But at such a young age.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you got a priceless education, like unbelievable value, and get paid to do it.
Yeah. And they paid me.
They were paying you to become excellent at sales. That's just like a dream job. Like I would have killed for a job like that. How did you get it? Like, how did that happen?
You're going to laugh. It's a newspaper ad.
Is it really?
So newspapers.
What's a newspaper?
Yeah, it's a newspaper ad. It said, sales experience required, but no, we'll train you. And I went in. I didn't know it was Tom Hopkins. Wouldn't have known who he was at the time. And then went in and they kind of explained the process. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And they called us road warriors back then. They would send us out to a city, maybe 2 or 3 of us. They put us up in corporate housing, give us a rental car, and that's it. everything else is on you. So whatever you spend, whatever you do, that's your money. But we'll try to set these meetings for you. So we had an inside sales team setting us meetings, and then we go out and prospect. And I hit hundreds of doors, right, in the time I was in there. And it was
And you were
crazy.
there for how long?
Like 2 months.
2 months
Typically.
leading up to it.
So 8 weeks, I would get to more things around that city than most people who live there, right? I would go, like if we were in Spokane, Washington, great example, small town, but it's right near the border of Idaho. It's a great area of the country. It's beautiful. Lots to do. It's summertime. We went whitewater rafting. We played on this golf course with a floating green. Like we did all this stuff. And I'd be in my meetings and people would say, "Oh, what have you done since you've been here?" And I'd start telling them like, "Oh yeah, I've been meaning to go check that out." I'm like, this town ain't that big. Like, where do you go? But it made me appreciate getting out there. And it was a new city explore every couple months. Some friends to do it with because we had some coworkers there. So when we weren't working, when we were on, we were out having fun.
Were you always traveling with the same 3 guys?
No, there's a couple that, we tend to stay in a team, but those teams shifted over time or
And then
left. Or
how was your comp set up? So you got a
straight commission.
Oh, straight commission.
Yeah, no,
straight commission.
You eat what you kill. Yeah. Sales 101, right? Like I said, they covered our expenses as far as like getting us there and being there. And I think maybe even gas. But other than that, it was on us.
Wow. Yeah. So you had to buy your own groceries.
Yeah.
There's no per diem.
I had to do my own laundry. I mean, late 20s.
That's funny.
That was real proficient.
Funny. This is a great job.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And I wasn't married.
It's not a good job if you're married and you got a family,
right.
But like almost impossible to have. Like it's impossible to have that job if you're married with a family. But how much time between cities? Like, did you get like?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, so I would be in a city for about 2 months. I'd be off for like a week or 10 days, and then I go to the next city. And that week or 10 days, I could be anywhere. I could go back to Phoenix, which is where I live at the time, or I go on vacation to Europe, or I could go hang out at a beach, or I could go wherever. They didn't care. I had to make some calls here and there, to set up meetings ahead of time, but I could do that from anywhere, even back then. So yeah, it was. I mean, could not have drawn that job up. I didn't even know that existed, obviously, when I got it. And then having done it, I mean, I got the bug right away. Like whenever you get an opportunity to speak, people either love it or hate it. Or it's one of the biggest fears out there is public speaking. And certainly when I first started, I was nervous, but you get to know your script and your material so well that nobody can throw you off. And then it's just fun. Then you're bantering with other salespeople about sales topic. Like, this is fun. And as Tommy would say, you kind of.
I'm sitting here with a smile on my face, like going, I would have killed for this job.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a great experience. It was a great time to do it because I was young. I was still wanting to travel, so I got to see a lot of the U.S. And then the pay was pretty good. I was making between $60,000 to $100,000 a year, depending even back then in the 90s. So late 90s.
So good dough.
Yeah, single, no responsibilities.
I didn't overhead.
I didn't have any rent or mortgage to pay because when I went back to Phoenix, I'd stay at a friend's house, or I'd travel somewhere or whatever. So I didn't have an apartment I was paying for. I didn't have a car.
This is funny. They've got a sales force that they're just nomads.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we'll go. Like, this is a great gig.
Yeah. And, I tell people what I'm doing and they're like, oh, it's crazy. But then the more they thought about it, like, that's just really good.
That's actually a good job. Yeah. Because I'm in these cities all the time. That's fun. What a fun job. So, and I guess what strikes me most is the skill that you learned at such a young age of speaking in front of groups. And that presence that you develop doing that, the confidence that gives you when you talk about almost any subject, I would imagine gave you such a huge leg up in whatever you did after that. Like it wouldn't have, even if you hadn't been in a sales career after that, like what a great, just because you learn self-confidence we're big fans of the book Psycho-Cybernetics, and it just talks about self-esteem. And I tell people all the time, it's called self-esteem. I can't give you this esteem. I would love to. If I could, I would give it to everybody, but it's so hard to develop and it comes from within, right? Like, and so you were forced into a situation where you almost didn't even have to think about developing it because you were just doing it. Yeah. And it was, like you said, you got the bug right away and you were just having fun. So you're not even thinking about it anymore. Correct.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things where you fall into it and you look back and you go, wow, did I really do that?
So how long did you work for?
4 to 5 years, somewhere in there, 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And then eventually I wanted to be in a community. I wanted to have a wife. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to do that life. I miss playing soccer. I played soccer through my life in college, and I missed being on a team. And so eventually I left that position because it was a really hard transition. I mean, when I moved here, I didn't know anybody. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And that job isn't really something that you go into any sales, but is like, well, what sales do I want to be in? Because I talked to, in that process, you talk to the sales manager or the business owner and kind of understand what their team is going through at the time to be able to be more effective for them. And so I saw a lot of the behind the scenes of here are the problems we have, and here we're experiencing, and hearing from the salespeople how rough it is. And so there's a lot of industries I was like, I don't think I'd want to be in that industry. Life insurance, good example. I mean, and it's a great thing to have. It's an important element. I couldn't see myself talking about that every day at the time, because I'd seen some of the people go through there and who was successful, who wasn't. And it wasn't for me. Right. So what's great is I got to kind of sample careers through the back end and find out, okay, what's it like to be in a car dealership? What's it like to be in an insurance company? What's it like to be in a mortgage company, a real estate, whatever. And after a lot of soul searching, I decided to go into mortgages. This is 2002, roughly, I started.
Okay.
And
here in town,
here in town, and that's a wild, wild west of lending, right? You don't have a license. If you fog a mirror, you get a loan, all that stuff. And had to find my way. And not only was I new to the business.
So was that what you did next after you got out of?
Yeah. I did a brief stint as I was waited tables, which I met Giuseppe actually. Right. I did a brief stint doing career consulting with a company, but it just wasn't me. It just wasn't something that really fit what I was after. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go into mortgages.
So did you know somebody, or was it just your experience in the sales training?
Yes, it's really. Yeah, the experience in it and what was going on in time, early 2000s. I mean, you couldn't throw a rock and not hit a lender, right? The bartender was a lender, the hairdresser was a lender, the waiter was a lender, you know what I mean? They had side hustles even back then. And realtors, real estate license and lending license,
My sister is a real estate agent in Scottsdale, and she's like, I don't know if it's still like this. I don't know what it is now, but she said, like, 1 out of every 7 adults has a real estate license. Yeah. Think about that.
Right. I believe it.
You see, 14 people, 2 of them are realtors.
Yeah. And how many realtors do you know? Even us as lenders, we know a lot, but I mean, even to the average person, you probably know at least 5 that you're actually reasonably close to. So when you go to like have to do something for real estate, you're like, oh, who do I pick? And how do I go about telling the other ones I didn't pick them? And it's tough. So lending,
it's actually not that tough, because 4 out of the 5 don't stay in touch with you at all.
Correct.
Right. And so,
it's not tough, but I'm just saying it is somebody
try
to, if you're a people pleaser like I am, you're trying to make everybody happy. It's harder. But
as a loan officer, you almost don't want to buy a house with a realtor. And I did that once because I had like 5 realtors I was working with when I bought this house. And I was like, I'm not going to use a realtor. That was the biggest mistake I've ever made. That house, I still own it. This was in 1999. We own it as a rental property. Yeah. This is a true story. And this is like a cautionary tale about don't buy a house without a real estate agent that is looking out for your best interest. This house backed up to a busy street. I knew that it backed up to a busy street, but every time I looked at the house, there was no traffic. The day I closed, I had already closed. I show up at about 5:30. And it had just rained.
Was there traffic then?
It had just rained. So it was magnified by the water.
Yeah,
noise.
Right.
And I'm standing out in the backyard. I must have looked like a fool. I was just like, I closed. This is oh my God.
I own this now.
And one of my good buddies is still like one of my best friends. He's a real estate agent, really successful real estate agent. And now he's an investor and he doesn't do deals. But he goes, dude, I would have never let you buy that house. Why did you do that? To this day, we lived in that house though for a long time because our kids and raising them and everything. But we kept it as a rental property. It's still a rental property.
Just didn't spend a lot of time in the backyard. Probably.
No, none. My youngest son rents it from us now.
Oh, good.
Like we've had a renter in there since 2014.
Yeah. Well, real estate, that's a great thing about real estate, even if and one of the realtors I met.
Don't buy a house without a realtor.
Yeah, well, that for sure. And I've been in this business a long time and I get where you're coming from. Like, I think I can handle everything. But it's just like a doctor being a patient. Like we make horrible home buyers because we're in the business. We see it every day. And yet when it's ours, we're complete.
Well, and that's where I would argue strongly. So if I ever interview real estate agents, I tell them like, look, if you're not going to tell me what's good for me, I don't need you. I don't need you to like get me in the house to see the house. I don't need you to write the offer. I don't need you. I mean, I do, but I don't need you to tell me the decision's mine. I need you to say, here's why I think this is a bad idea, Dave. If you still want to do it, I guess we'll do it, but I don't want you to do this. I'm looking for that guy.
Yeah.
Because this is a really expensive thing to do and a really expensive thing to undo.
Yep.
Which is one of the reasons we've never sold it. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to pay all those fees to get rid of it. I'll just keep it, letting it appreciate. But that's
Well,
the
that
kind
and
of
rents are
those are the kind of real estate
good,
agents
right?
I want, right? Is somebody, those are the kind of realtors I want, though. I like, dude, look out for me. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Don't
you
just
want an
take my
advisor,
order.
right? I mean, you go to in making your biggest purchase of your life, whether you're the real estate or the lender, your role is as an advisor to help them understand not only here are your options or here's what you could do, but here's what maybe you should do, or here's the product you should use, and here's the one you shouldn't, and here's why.
Yeah.
I think that's an important.
I used to say this with clients. I was like, if you were my brother, here's what I'd make you do. But, like, okay, well, I'll do that. It's like, okay, then do that, because I'm not going to give you that. I'm giving you advice that I know I would do myself.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you to do something that I wouldn't do.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, anyway. All right. So mortgage, talk about the beginning of it, because
as I mentioned,
it's a hard job to get into.
It is. And it was interesting. I didn't have that warm market. I didn't have family here. I didn't have friends here.
In and I'm originating loans, or did you do anything like process?
No, I wish,
assistance?
nowadays you can get on teams, right? Where you have an experienced LO and you come out as like a junior and you kind of learn the ropes by working on their files. Back then that didn't exist. It was, at least that I saw, I didn't see that. And so I just jumped in.
Well, I'll tell you how we worked with Giuseppe when we first hired him. Because,
okay.
Yeah. Cause it's funny. Well, cause now you say that, it's like interesting. Cause you guys both got in the business about the same time.
Yeah.
I hired him in November of 22.
Yeah. There you go.
That's when he started.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, November of 2002. Did I say 20? November
2002.
2002.
Right,
yeah. So what month did you get in?
Yeah. I think April, if I remember.
Okay. So you guys, that's really funny that you guys.
And it's funny. I had about 2 months saved up of expenses, and I'm like, all right, sink or swim. Here we go. And I've been in sales before, so I wasn't worried about it.
And you eat what you kill, and you understand.
But the sale process and buying a home, right? And unless somebody's ready to write a contract today, they're not necessarily doing anything today. And you had refinances back then, which is
you're
good
60,
too,
90 days out.
Yeah. So you had to kind of get that ball rolling quickly. So I had to hustle and show people that I was in it as a career, not as a job, because you had a lot of pretenders back then doing also mortgages, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so to try to differentiate myself, I had to explain, what I do. I had to show clients I was different by how I presented loans to them, and just went the extra mile.
How did you drum up business? Like, what'd you do?
A lot of cold calls. So back then, the internet was around. Yeah. So I would pull up realtors online. You couldn't see their production. I'd print out a bunch of pages of realtors, and I would just, like, 20 pages of cards of realtors, say maybe 15 a page. And I'd just start calling, and I'd try to set appointments. And just like anything, it's a numbers game. If you call enough, you'll get appointments. But then if you get the appointment, that realtor may not do anything, or they may not like you, or they may never send anything to you.
You never show up for the appointment.
Or they may a lot of no-shows. So you have to fulfill that, and then let everybody I knew know that I did lending.
You couldn't have had.
I didn't have much of a market.
You didn't have much of a sphere here, right? Because you didn't know that many people.
But I played soccer, for example, and I
So
had waited tables, and I had, so I knew some people, and everybody I meet, they would know what I did. I do have a funny story on my soccer team. I played with this guy, and we played for like 4 years together. Every Sunday, we practiced a couple times a week. And about 4 years into it, I found out he owned a title company. I'm like, dude, I'm a lender.
What's his name?
Greg Parham. He owned
the title company?
So back then it's Vista Title,
I didn't
and then he was part owner of First Alliance Title.
Okay.
Recently,
That's
he sold
funny.
that recently with Lon Welsh, and
That's
so
funny.
anyway, yeah,
You own a title company.
You own a title company. I'm a lender. I'm on your team. We know each other. We hang out.
How do we
and
not
he
know
did
that?
not. Yeah, it's one of the stories that we both tell in our
That's funny.
career. You got to let everybody know.
Everybody.
So-
the easiest question to ask people you meet after you get into, like, because great conversation starters is, so what do you do?
They have
And
to
then
ask
when
you back.
they have to ask
Yeah,
you
correct.
what you do. And when you ask, well, then the next easiest question for you to ask the person that you ask this is like going, so are you a homeowner? Because either you are or you're not.
Yeah.
There's only two options. And if you're not, you want to be. And that's the answer is usually like, no, but I want to be.
Yeah.
And so now, like, you got the perfect opening. And if they are, you can talk like, awesome. How long ago did you buy your house? Or
Yeah.
what is it? Are you in your forever home? when was the last time you did a mortgage checkup? Like, there's all that. And so it's just to have the conversations, which
Right.
is, we're going to get to make the call here in a second,
Yeah.
but keep going. So
Yeah, so I would exactly have those conversations. And I think you're right. Somebody told me in my career early on in mortgage training, you either own the place you live in or you rent, and renting sucks. And so everybody's renting probably wants to own. And so, there's time to rent, right? And
I've never had a renter answer that question and go like I've never had them say, they might not tell me, but I want to. They might just be like, no, I don't own a home.
Yeah.
I'm like, so whenever I followed up with, do you want to own a home someday? It's like, yeah. No one's ever go like, no, I don't want to own a home. No one's ever said that.
Yeah. And nobody's ever said, oh, I'm so glad I didn't buy real estate 10 years ago. Yeah. Like in the history of time,
something,
no matter what happened in the market.
Never hear.
Yeah. So, it's a great industry to be in because everybody is a potential client. And that was one of my criteria, when I was doing the Tom Hopkins thing, I had only prospect salespeople. So when I went to a city, I was only interested in meeting salespeople, sales organizations, whatever. And when I left that business, one of my criteria was I want to be able to market to everybody. And one of Tommy's famous lines is he would talk about pre-need funeral care arrangement. He's like, everybody's a client.
Yeah.
Okay. And but same with home ownership. Everybody's either going to buy something, refinance, whatever. If they're not a client now, they could be later. If you don't get them now, you might get them later. So that was one of my criteria.
If you stay in touch, you get them later. Yeah, you will get them later if you stay in touch.
Yeah.
That's just it. You just have to have value long enough. And exactly.
You wear them out.
Yeah. Well, you outlast them.
Yeah. Right.
It's more of that. You were lucky that you had the internet because real estate agent data wasn't on the internet in 1998. It was getting there.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't there. You could find articles about real estate online. And so I had to drive neighborhoods and look for sale signs to get names.
And just write them down.
And then I wrote them down. That same guy that told me I shouldn't have bought that house, he would lend me the MLS book. Because the listings used to be in a phone book that they would print every couple of weeks. I don't know how often it came out. It wasn't as thick as a phone book, but it was pretty thick. And you had you could find every real estate agent's name and phone number. You knew nothing else about them, just the name and phone number. And so all right, well, I'll start calling them. Somebody told me this because when I got into business, it was all refis for about 6 months. And then the rates went up one day. And I was like, that was the honest to God, this is how dense I was. It dawned on me that I'm not going to be able to just refinance everybody for the rest of my career. Right. I thought that's what I was going to be doing. And so I asked somebody, he's like, well, how do you get, no, you can do purchase loans. I'm like, how do you get purchase loans? Like, how do you do that? It's like, well, you got to talk to realtors. I'm like, okay, how do you talk to a realtor? I know one guy, I know a couple of guys. And they're like, no, there's thousands of realtors. I go, well, how do you find them? And then that's what it was. And all right, I'm going to just go find real estate agents to talk to. What else is there to do? I got to find opportunities for business. And then I would mail them a letter, tell them I was going to call them. And then I would mail 2 more mailing pieces that I would get the articles online and I'd print them out. Thought you might find this interesting with a Post-it note, my business card, send another one. So they got back when real estate agents were going to the office more frequently. They don't barely go at all now. And they would have 3 pieces of mail from me. And when I would call them, they'd either hang up right away, which is fine, or they'd go like, oh yeah, I've been getting your stuff.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I just want to get 15 minutes of your time. They're like, sweet, yeah, let's get together. They're like, oh, you seem like you know what you're doing. You sent me a letter and then you followed up. Like, that's impressive. I had a couple of realtors call me because they were newer. I didn't know anything about it. Right. They were just like going, hey, I really like your marketing. Could we have a cup of coffee? It's like,
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
My marketing. I'm not doing anything. Yeah. It was funny.
And that's, the key is you service them, right? Whatever your client is, whoever your client is, try to find something of interest to them. And then your reputation, I learned early on, if you're going to make this a career, no one transaction is going to make your year, but one transaction could lose it. Right. So you have to be excellent every time. And if you're not, you have to find a way to make it up, whatever that is. If you made a mistake or dropped the ball or whatever it was, because mistakes happen, unfortunately, in this business, but you have to find a solution and you have to find a way. I mean, luckily back then, if one underwriting company didn't like it, you could take it somewhere else and probably find
a home. Were you a broker when you first started?
Yeah, I was a broker initially.
Okay.
That's kind of how I got in the business. And I went to Cherry Creek Mortgage. I used to call it the firm because I think everybody went through there at one point. In fact, Majestic Mortgage was part of Cherry Creek for a little bit.
That's right.
When I was there. And then that's how I knew Tom Ward, and one of my buddies in Chicago worked for him. So anyway, went to there, and then I've been in a direct lending bank role since then. We can still broker, obviously, where I'm at now.
Right.
And I've been to maybe 4 or 5 companies in my 20 some odd year career.
Right. So that's good.
Yeah. I don't like changing. It's not easy. It's hard because you promote yourself so much about where you're at and who you are and all that stuff. So when you change, it's like people have to now find a new email address or find a new way to get a hold of you. And thankfully my cell phone stayed the same, but nonetheless.
Well, you got to stay in touch. Yeah, for
correct.
sure. Especially, when you first started doing deals, it's hard when you don't know anything. And I got some, terrible advice from people because I was asking questions. I don't even know if I was asking the right questions, but I was getting really bad answers. It was probably a combination of most people don't really know what they're doing. And then I didn't know the right question to ask about certain situations. And I got myself into a few pickles early on because I just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And some great advice that I got from that guy who was my best friend, the real estate agent, who turned out to be a great mentor for me while I was when I first got into business, because I was 37 when I started. So I was 1997 is when I was getting up there, and like it was my 5th career. That's why I'm jealous of what you did leading into the business, because I had never seen anything like the mortgage business. And what I liked about it right away, obviously, was the first time I sold something, you were selling something that made a difference for the people you sold it to before you got in a mortgage. But this was the first thing I sold that made a difference in the person's life. Everything else I sold was okay for them, not bad for them. But it wasn't a bad thing. Getting a commission check was the big win. When I first started doing mortgages, it was that. So it was like, wow, this helps people. Like this is really fun to do something like this. And I didn't have any strong leadership. I worked at 5 companies the first 2.5 years because they were all bad. And then I started this company. So back in 2000, and then I was bad at it for a long time until I figured out how to do running a business that does mortgages and doing mortgages are 2 different things. Tom Ward actually saved my ass because like I met him at a Todd Duncan event. I didn't meet him at the event. I called afterwards to buy something that they were selling, tax analysis or a rate alert. I can't remember what it was, but he used to develop really cool products.
Yeah, he's a software guy
smart
back
guy.
then. Yeah.
And he, I asked him if he would look at my financial statements, and I called him, and we had 3 conversations. And then one day I'm like, because he's telling me, he's like, "Oh, you're right where I was. You're doing great. Keep going." And I was like, "I am. I don't think I am.
It doesn't feel great.
I'm losing money." And so then I just called him one day and I asked him, "Can I ask you a favor?" And he goes, "Sure." I go, "If I sent you my financial statements, would you look at them? Because I don't even know how to read them." And I'm like, and I'm getting them late, and I don't even know what's going on. He's like, "Yeah. It's just let me give you a FedEx number." I was like 100 pounds lifted off my shoulder. Right. 2 days later, he calls me back and he goes, "Okay, I have some questions for you." And I said, "What are they?" And he goes like, "Okay, well, so what margin are you using?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "What's the margin that you have to mark up your loans?" I go, I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. I go, "We try to get one on the front and one on the back." And he's like, "What's that mean?" Because we were brokers.
Right. Yeah.
And so I charge 1% origination fee and sell with a 1% yield spread. And he's like, okay. He goes, "What mandatory fees are you required to collect?" And, "Well, we try to collect a $350 processing fee." And he goes, "Do you have to collect it?" And I go, "Well, yeah, but I mean, if the customer doesn't like, he's like, "So do sometimes you let those loan officers waive it?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "And so if they don't charge one on the front, one on the back, how do you pay them?" And I go, "I still pay them a split, 50-50 split or whatever the splits were." And he goes, "Okay, well, there's a couple things you're going to have to change." He goes, "If you don't change their comp plan and you don't make if you don't institute some mandatory margin discipline into your business, you're going to have to close." And I was like, "Dude, I don't want to close." He goes, "No, you're not going to have to close. You're going to have to do that stuff." And I go, "If I do all of this stuff, they're going to quit." And he goes, "That's okay. They're losing you money. Right. You're a really good loan officer all by yourself. You're doing most of the production." He goes, "You'll be fine." Yep. And I was like, I don't think I will be fine. And so then we started talking like, "Hey, would you consider you ever considered having a branch in Denver? Because you know more about this than I do." And so then we became a branch in Majestic.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a great mentor to have. Yeah.
Tom, he was great. He was great. I should have him do it. We should do a podcast. He's a great sales guy.
Right.
Really smart sales guy.
Yeah. And he's always building and doing something.
Yeah. So, but what was your early on, like just doing loans? I say that the 2 hard parts of this business are getting the loans and doing the loans.
Yeah.
There's 2 really hard things. Some people are really good at one or the other, and it's rare that you'd be really good at both. So what was it like when you initially started? Did you struggle getting them, or would you, or how was
It's a
that?
combination. I think I wasn't killing it in terms of volume, but I would get enough to be busy, and be getting production. But the doing was different. I didn't even own a home at the time when I started, right? So I knew what a mortgage was, kind of. But I remember the broker I worked for at the time was trying to train us in house. A bunch of us to kind of start at the same time, and he had ADHD all over the place. So he'd be talking about DTI, and then he'd talk about credit score, and then you talk about something else, and I'm like, wait, what's DTI? So I went through formal training. They had some different trainers out there you could go through, and so that really helped just kind of get the bare bones of it. And then account executives from wholesale companies back then would come into a mortgage shop where we all were. Now nobody works in the mortgage shop, but back then everybody came in the office, and account executives would come in and help us go through each file and explain, hey, this is a good loan, this isn't, or this is a good loan for somebody else, this is what you want to do. That training really helped, and I would pick those guys' brain every time they came in. Didn't care who it was. I wouldn't use every one of them just because pricing and whatever. Would always try to get some information from them because they saw way more loans than I did. Right.
Wow.
So that, I think most of my education came from that.
Wow.
Back then, and then over the years,
That's how
becoming
I
more
got.
of a master
I
of
was just thinking
guidelines.
about that when I first got in the business. Those AEs would show up, and they would just show you how to do a loan.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if we got like some of the most ethical advice.
No, right. Well, and they marketed what they had.
Yeah.
Right. They had these products to sell. That's what their strong suit was. What was interesting is I thought, man, it'd be really cool to be AE, because I don't have to go out there and hustle and try to find clients. I just go into mortgage shops and find business that way.
Right.
And then a couple of years later, there's no AEs.
Right.
Because 08 happened, and all the wholesalers shut down, and business went out. And so I'm glad I didn't make that move. Similarly, I was a broker up until about 06, and then I went into Cherry Creek Mortgage as direct lender. And that move, predating 08 was huge, because when 08 hit, almost the broker model went out the window for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And now it's back, it's great. But I had some fortuitous choices. I wouldn't say I was doing it out of some premonition. It was kind of more dumb luck of, the way I liken it is musical chairs. When the music stops, if you're in front of a chair, great. If you're not, bummer.
Exactly. 2006 till when at Cherry Creek?
Till I think I left there in 2013, maybe.
Okay, so you're there for a while, 7-8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good company. It still is. And then went to another direct lender, Citywide Home Loans.
Right.
And I was there for 6 years, and then now New American Funding for about 8. So.
And then we'll talk about because the last 5 years have been amazing, right? Like, so it's 2025. So if you think about 2020, unbelievable year.
Yep.
2020, 2021. Essentially, we did 5 years worth of volume in 2 years.
Yeah. Right.
And now we're paying for it. We've been paying for it since middle of 22, right? What's it been like? Because everybody's going through it.
Yeah.
There's still tons of business being done.
Right.
We did an exercise the other day where we got the Scotsman's Guide out, and we were looking at all the Colorado lenders on the Scotsman's Guide list. There's 157 lenders on there. And I think the least amount of production you saw was like 27, 28 million was about the number. Mm-hmm. And then some of the bigger numbers, everybody's business is down, but there's a lot of volume on that list. Of the 157 lenders, there was $7.7 billion worth of revenue, with a closed loan volume, 16,600 loans. Divided by 157 people, around 100 loans a person. Yeah. Right. Which you and I both know that's an amazing, that's a great living, right? What I pointed out to everybody, and this is just those 157 loan officers, there was still like $70 billion worth of loans done in the state of Colorado last year. My point is that like every customer that did a loan that these guys did would have still done a loan if that guy hadn't done it.
Yeah. Right.
Like, we don't sell, different to what you were selling. We don't sell something that we have to talk somebody into buying.
Right.
We sell something that people are going to buy. And the only question is, who are they going to buy it from? Who are they going to use? And it's about being in front of more people. And that's where I think something happened, and I'm interested to hear your take. You've been in the business a long time. Something happened to all of us in 20 and 21 that made everything that's happened since then way harder
Yeah.
than if we hadn't had a 2020
Yeah.
to deal with.
Well, and I think it's a combination of things, to be fair. Yes, the volume was there, it was easy pickings. You didn't have to work too hard.
Phone just rang.
Yeah, the phone just rang. So, for me, my marketing, had stalled out where I wasn't trying to attract new partners, referral partners, because I had enough, so to speak. I was trying to keep up on business. I was still talking to my clients and reaching out to them, but you never should turn marketing off. You can turn the volume down, but you should never turn it off. And so
You turned it off.
yeah, and some of those realtors left the business or retired or just aren't getting the volume they're getting or whatever, or found somebody else to work with. And so you still get the attrition, but if you're not adding to that, then you're negative.
You're gonna go
and
backwards.
then the other thing,
Yeah, if you're not
with COVID,
I think that's a mistake that a lot of loan officers make. I heard this the other day from one of the Go coaches. Is like most loan officers overmarket to too small of an audience.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they keep calling the same people.
They got 5 realtors, and
they call
like,
a couple times a day.
I'm like, yeah, but you only got 5 realtors.
Yeah, right. You need relationships out there, and you need people to know who you are. And there's old adage: it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it's really who knows you. Because when the time comes and they run into somebody that needs something, who are they thinking of? Is it you or somebody else? And whoever it is that they think of first, that's where they're going. So that, and then COVID. I mean, I think we're still feeling the effects of shutting everything down, not going out for however long. Everybody stopped going in an office. Everybody worked from home. We didn't have live network events. We didn't have live anything, right, for a while. And so that mentality, I think for me, I'm an extroverted personality. I get energy from being around other people. And that was really hard in that time. But what's weird is it kind of changed my mentality of trying to get out there all the time, and I really had to kind of ramp that back up where now I'm doing that again, but it took longer than just the COVID shutdown for that to go away.
Are you going to an office now?
About half the week.
Yeah.
I have kids. I'm a single parent. So, part of it's necessity. Like if my daughter was home today because she's sick. So I was working from home.
Yeah.
Where I was going to go in the office.
I think that Buffini talked about that in that podcast that we were talking about before we started is he said real estate agents and lenders quit going to the office. So they quit going to work. They quit going to work. There's something psychological about getting up, getting showered, getting dressed and going to work. And they work from home and they sit in their pajamas and they don't have to work. And it's just, he said the number one, they surveyed 10,000 real estate agents and the number one activity of these 10,000 real estates was running errands. It's like that's
being busy.
Number two activity is scrolling through social media.
Yeah, right.
And
that's another advent that we didn't really have to deal with prior to that, right? So I remember when Facebook and everything came on, but now that we have all those instantly on our phones or the news feeds or whatever it is, like you have way too much distraction available to you. So if you don't shut that off, if you don't put it away, or you don't look at it, whatever, you can spend all day doing it.
Okay, so that's the gist. We got to make the call.
Yeah, right.
The gist of it is that for a $40,000 or $50,000 a year job, you're required to show up at 9 o'clock, work for 2 hours, take a break for 15 minutes, get back to work for 2 hours, take a half an hour lunch, get back to work for 2 hours, take a 15-minute break, and work for 2 more hours, and then clock out. And you get $50,000 a year to do that. Yeah. And for the mortgage and real estate industry, you have all the freedom in the world to do the exact same thing, but it requires the discipline, and the potential for income is 10 times that $50,000 or $40,000, right? Easy. And we don't treat it like that. Today, you and I had an appointment at 1 o'clock, right? Or 1:30. And was it 1:30?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Okay. It's like, what time was it? But we were both ready at 1 o'clock to do this.
Right.
And it's interesting that we set an appointment with each other to do this. Neither one of us are going to make any money from it.
Right.
But we set an appointment to do this, and we're like, no, I said I would do this, and that's what I'm going to go do. And we do that all the time. We do that for doctor appointments. We do that for a meeting at school with the kid's teacher. Like we show up for things like that all the time. If you have a real estate agent appointment, you're not late for that. You don't blow that off and just say, I'm not going to do it. Yep. You have a client that is scheduled to talk to you at 4 o'clock. You're talking to the client at 4 o'clock, right? Yep. We do it all the time, but we don't do it for the thing that makes us the most money.
Yeah. We don't have the green time.
And that's what's crazy. And so Make the Call was designed to address that. But especially with your background. That's what's so fun to talk to you about this with your training and your history and everything. Tommy Hopkins would say this like, dude, what are you doing? And so what's your take on all of this?
Yeah.
Because you're experiencing it yourself.
And well, and we talked a little bit about this before we started. My business has fallen off too, and certainly not the levels it was. And it's really frustrating. And I had to really rethink, okay, what am I doing? What am I not doing? What should I be doing? Where should I be spending my time? Because you got that shining squirrel thing, and back to scrolling through the internet, there's mortgage guys on there, doing videos, and some people are doing like,
here's what you should do,
entertainment. Some are doing content, right? Well, here's what a bank statement loan looks like, or whatever. And they say, oh, I get business from that. Well, maybe I should do that. Oh, but if I did that, I got to have this production, these lights, and these cameras, and all this stuff, and I don't know what I want to say. And you spend all this time analysis paralysis, right, trying to get to it and not doing it. Meanwhile, if you just made calls and did the old-fashioned way of contacting your clients and your friends, and you're making the 10 calls a day, you'd be just fine. And the studies show most people still find their lender through the realtor. And the reality is, when somebody is wanting to buy a home, do they think, ooh, I got to look at my bank finances? Or do they think, man, that house looks awesome, I'm going to go see that? It's the sexy part of the business. And so if you don't have those contacts that are...
Nobody ever wakes up with the dream of getting a mortgage.
No, ever. And even though they know
it's the dream of owning a home, right?
Yeah, it's very rare they go there first. And any good realtor, when they get that call, is going to say, have you been pre-approved yet? If not, okay, here's who you should call. Call my guy or gal. And so if you're not on that list, a very short list for those agents and those people, and then you can also get customer direct, but most, I think it was like 40-50% is mortgage marketing animals had a thing on it. And they is overwhelming still came from the realtor. You had a small segment from social media, a small segment from whatever. And obviously past clients made a little bigger piece of the pie, but most of it's still that contact with who they go to first is the realtor, because the shiny new home is what they want to see. And so if you're not making the calls to those folks, if you're not making the calls to the clients, and you're not knowing when those people are going to be making those moves, hey, you just had a baby, huh? You're now Ninja Selling does a great job of your hot list and your warm list. And people that are going to buy within the next couple months, people are going to buy maybe the next year. And you're asking those forward questions and finding out what's changing in their life that's going to prompt that to put you on that list, right?
Dumb.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because it's like,
duh.
So how many people did you talk to today?
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Correct.
And are you tracking it?
And the reality is
tracking it.
Even though I know it, are you tracking it? And are you doing the follow-up? Because even though I know all that stuff, I fell off of it. I wasn't doing it regularly because you didn't have to. You're more reactionary. And it took me longer than it should have to get back onto that, track.
I think there's something I heard that Shant Benazi, and you know who Shant is, the number one originator in the country. And I heard him at a conference last year say that I quit checking to see. I know I'm always going to be ranked really high in the country, and I'm always going to be ranked really high at guaranteed rate. I used to check it all the time. Every time the numbers would come out, I'd check and see, like, how am I doing? He goes, and then I just realized, I'm like, why do I keep doing this? Because it doesn't matter. And what I really care about is how many calls did we make yesterday, and how many people did we talk to yesterday? And I think loan officers have a tendency, especially because of the social media and all the crap, and it is so much crap. I'm struck by how much we're marketed to, because I'm on there. I never even see the stuff that we do, because after I do this, I'm like, I'm not posting it. I'm like, I don't. Yeah. I get people.
Yeah, people that do
because I go down that rabbit hole so easily, dude. Yeah. Like I'm going to intentionally get on social media to make 10 comments. It's like
an hour later.
It's like an hour later. Like, why did I spend all that time on that? Because that's what it's designed to do to you.
Correct.
And so you have to be super focused and super disciplined. You have to set a timer and say, this timer goes off, I got to be done.
Yep.
And back to that being disciplined in that approach. Tim Brahim is one of the coaches that I've had over the years. The loan officer with the most friends wins, right? At the end of the day. And if you just talk to more people, you're going to get the business. The Feeney, Core, Go, Ninja Selling, they all teach the same stuff.
Yep.
The reason they teach it, Tommy Hopkins, probably, I don't know what the core teaching was, but what was it? Was it, how many people are you talking to a day if you're a real estate?
What's your activity?
Yeah.
In every sales,
look at your calendar,
every salesperson, even if they're salaried plus commission, you have a lot of flexibility in your day. You may have to be there certain times or whatever, but most people have the flexibility in schedule. If you're not doing the activities that are going to make you the money, you're not going to make the money. It doesn't matter what company you're with, what product you're selling, what service you have. You could have the best thing in the world. if you're not letting enough people know about it, you're not going to get it. And so I think the daily disciplines are the key. And I've been guilty of that as much as anybody of falling off of it from time to time. And if you do that for too many days or weeks or months in a row, well, then you're suffering financially, just like a lot of other people. So
it's so funny because it's what our human nature is. And so then you always admire those people that are that disciplined and they stay focused with it. I think what I've heard too, that's hard, curious to what you think, that what we have to do is we have to be really disciplined about doing really boring stuff because there's no variety. Like if you want variety, Tom Ward's favorite line, variety breeds inefficiency. Like if you want variety, you're not going to be good at this because there's nothing variety about having 10 conversations every single day. I got to have 10 conversations every single day. And it's like, you do this every day. It's like, yeah, but I'm closing 20 loans this month. So it's working. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, I'll be able to feed my family.
Yeah. So it works.
And it's success is boring. I mean, when you boil it down and you get to that level where it's automatic, it's not automatic, but I mean, you're doing the same things every day. It's kind of routine. And being able to structure a 1003 in a loan, it's routine. I know how to do that without even trying hard. It's boring, but success is boring if you're doing it right.
Think about what elite athletes do, or bodybuilders, or anybody that's like anybody that has to do repetitive crap to be the best of the best.
Right.
Like how many free throws did Michael Jordan shoot, for God's sakes?
Right.
How many times did John Elway pass a football? It's like it's the same thing over and over and over again. Like it has to be boring. So it's just that level of commitment to being great at what you're doing. So that's the cool thing about the business. Talk about the clients that you get to help, because that's one of the best things about this job is when you are when the buyer's crying at the closing table because they're so happy. I'm sure you've had some of these experiences. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, why we all do the business is because you want to help people, right? And your way to help people is help people get a home, or help people better finance that home, or lower their payments, or remove their debt burden. I mean, most people have been in debt. I've been in debt, and
it's awful,
over leveraged. And once you get out of that, once you break that plane, like, oh,
it's such
the weight is off your shoulder. Yeah, completely. And so you can advise people and help people do that. And ultimately, that's why we all do it. The making the calls. I mean, they're not hard calls to make, but as Jim Rohn famously said, when it's easy to do, it's easier not to do. But they're good calls. And in the end of the day, you hit enough people, you're going to help enough people. Zig Ziglar, great quote from him is, when you help enough people get what they want, you're going to have everything you want, right? Golden rule. So I think falling into that, the reason I got in this business, I saw it as a good product to sell. I saw it as an ethical way to do business, help people and help myself, help my family, build a business, and maybe even be generational. My son's, sure. Right. Well, or even create a business that your kids can walk into if they so choose.
One time I heard in this business, the cool thing about this business is it's the kind of business where you can earn enough income that you can be in a position where if somebody in your family needed help and needed 50 grand, you could give it to them and not need it back. You can make that kind of money in this business. That's a really cool thing. That's like, oh, wow, I never thought of that. Like what a cool position to be in. Like, okay, I'm going to help my brother, or I'm help my parents.
It's life-changing money. Right. And to compliment you, by the way, I didn't know about your podcast before you called, before we had our conversation, but I've listened to it in preparation and kind of coming here, just getting an understanding. And it's so funny, like hearing some of the things you're saying. I'm like, I gotta do that again. Even though I've been through the training, I've taught the training, I've done the training, I've bought the books, I've gone to the seminars, whatever, and I get into bad habits just like everybody else. And you need those reminders.
It's good to hear that, though. I think it's good for people to hear that, like, hey, everybody struggles here. Yeah,
absolutely. It is. There's nobody immune to it. And the more you fill your brain with good stuff, the less bad stuff can get in. And Tony Robbins had this analogy where Jim Rohn had taught him, because he had promoted Jim Rohn back in the day. He said, Tony, if somebody puts a lot of sugar in your tea, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? He's like, it'll taste bad, be too sweet. It's like, right. If somebody puts a drop of arsenic in your tea, what's going to happen? I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So you got to watch your tea. You got to guard your tea. And the tea he was referring to there is your brain. What's going into your brain? Are you listening to the radio and just getting hit with stuff? Are you scrolling through and just getting hit with whatever happens to pop up? Or are you intentionally seeking out material to fill your brain with?
I don't know.
If you want to listen to music, great. Listen to music. If you want to,
well, you can
better yourself,
you can make a positive playlist,
Yeah.
playlist.
Yeah.
I just did this recently where I just want inspirational music and hear the
That's great.
artists and everything else. And I was able to this is perfect. I'm going to get like 200 songs.
Dude Perfect's great for that. They have a great Dude Perfect. You don't know these guys? Oh,
no.
Man. You don't have kids younger.
No, I don't.
So Dude Perfect's a group of guys that they started out doing trick shots, but they have this whole programming going on. But they're Christian based guys, and so all their music is upplayed. It's not necessarily Christian, but it's positive, right? It's good.
Oh, no,
so all the music they play in their videos and it's wildly entertaining.
I'll check it out.
It's like a group of guys, your college buddies, getting around together and competing against the dumbest things in the world, like playing golf with a hockey stick, a tennis racket, a football, and a whatever. And you have to get to the hole and get it in with whatever it is, the tools you have. So it's a great entertaining. But anyway, they have these great playlists and you could download their stuff. Like it's all positive upbeat.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. Where are you going now? So what are your goals? Like, what's the plan? Like 5 years from now? I always use this because of a great video that I think I shared with you that maybe I didn't. Graham Weaver, How to Live an Asymmetric Life. He's got these 4 things that you should do. I share this with a lot of people because it's so powerful. It's a 30-minute talk that he gave. He runs a private equity firm, but he did a talk at Stanford Business School that went viral a few years ago. And it's about how to live an asymmetric life. And he has these 4 things that you're supposed to do. I'll send it to you because it's like a 30-minute video, but it's really inspirational. You get choked up a couple times in it because he's telling really heartfelt stories about his life and things that have happened to him. And it's do hard things, do your thing, do it for decades. And the last one is write your story. And he talks about how he almost went out of business during the Great Recession. Like it was like this whole thing wasn't going to work. Yeah. And he hired his business coach, and the business coach said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to write a 5-year story of what we want the future to look like. And it needs to be your nirvana. And there's 3 rules. It needs to be your nirvana. We're not going to talk about how. And the third rule, I guess that was the third rule. Write your story, must be nirvana, and there's not the how, just what we're going to do in 5 years. And it has to be perfect. It can't just be okay. Because his point is that how is the killer of all dreams. Yeah. I'll send you the video because it's really good. You'll really dig it. And a lot of people have used it, and they're like, oh, I'm going to write that 5-year story because it's really a great way to think about it. But if I asked you to do that, and I know I just put you on the spot, and I didn't tell you I was going to do this. I wasn't sure I was going to do this. I didn't know I was going to do this. What would your 5-year, like if you could write that like perfect nirvana story, what would 5 years look like for you?
So you did not give me that video ahead of time.
Okay. So you're not ready.
So I'm not ready. But I think for me, the 5-year vision, I mean, I've got a freshman in high school and a 6-year-old kindergartner. And so in 5 years, my son will be out in college or whatever he's going to do beyond. And my daughter's still going to be in the school system. But I've always wanted to lead by example with my kids, not just, knowing what to do, but showing that you are in control of your destiny. And so for me, it's taking those kids on amazing trips around the world. I think travel by none is the best education you can get. Going to different cultures, seeing different places, getting out of your bubble a little bit, and can just open your eyes to what's out there in the world.
For sure. We're spoiled.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my God.
And then having a business that I can do that with, meaning I can go away for a week, a month, whatever, and it still runs.
Right.
And it comes back maybe better if I would have been here. And so having the right people in place to be able to maintain that and helping them grow into their vision, I think, there's I don't know who came up with the quote, but if you're not living your dream, you're working for somebody who's building theirs. So my goal is always to pull people up, help them realize what they want to do. I've told everybody that's ever worked for me, we probably won't retire together. It's reality. Maybe we will. And if we do, we're going to have a great time. But in the time that we're together, I want to help you get from A to B, whatever that is for you, and help them propel. So for me, that the magnet forward is always seeing that better life, always having that, not just for me, but for all the others around me.
That's great. That's cool. Very cool. Because you're going to leave a legacy.
That's the idea.
Doing that. That's what I still talk about. Tom Ward. I get choked up. He made a huge difference in my life. I might not have this company today if I hadn't figured that out. Because I say this all the time. I almost closed this company down a couple, 3 times.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if this is going to work. So those are legacies that people leave, and you're standing on the shoulders of other folks. I think all the time. So
yep.
All right, man. This has been great.
All right.
This is way more fun than I was gonna. Like this has been. I didn't think it wasn't gonna be fun, but it was really fun.
I like to
love
set the bar
Tom
low.
Hopkins stuff. Yeah, I had set the expectations low, and then you're surprised. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. This has been really good. This is Dan Umdenstock. Said
That's
it
right.
Okay. I was sitting here going like, if I can say Umdenstock or Dan Umdenstock. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. If you've liked this podcast, please give us a rating and share it with your friends. And I'm Dave Gallegos. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Make the Call with Dave Gallegos, brought to you by Zenith Home Loans. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, and share the show with a friend or colleague who would also find value.